So then let's get started. Hello and welcome. My name is Andrea Kollmann. I'm the coordinator of S-PARCS, and I'm very happy to welcome you all to the final event of our S-PARCS project, which we hold together today with the newly founded Alliance for Energy Cooperation in European Industries. And S-PARCS is a proud founding member of this alliance, so we're very happy to have the colleagues here on board today. A quick look at our agenda. What we aim to do today is to give you some insights into what we have learned in our project. Also, of course, what our newly founded alliance is all about. And we will also get some insights from other ongoing energy cooperation projects that are funded by the Horizon 2020 program. We're also very happy that at the beginning of this webinar, we have two speakers from DG ENER and from SINEA. Before we start, please be aware we record this webinar and we will provide a link to all the attendants afterwards so that you can revisit it again if you want to. Please keep in mind to mute yourself when you're not talking, and it'd be great if you have the opportunity and possibility to turn on your camera whenever you're speaking. We hope to hear a lot from you. We hope to get a lot of questions. Please do not hesitate to either raise your hand if you want to say something or just put your questions into the chat. We will monitor them and we will try to answer as many of the questions as possible directly after the presentations. Also, all of the presentations will be made available later this week, probably, or early next week. You will get an email from us with a link to all the documentations. But let's get started. I'm very happy that we can welcome Ian Hodgson. And I'm sorry if I spelled your name incorrectly, Ian, from DG ENER, who will give us a policy introduction to our webinar. Ian, please.
Good morning, Andrea. Thank you very much. So I have to try and get my presentation. So hopefully you can see the presentation.
Works perfectly fine.
Great. So good morning, everybody. Andrea and the project team, thanks very much for the opportunity to talk briefly at the beginning here. I'm going to talk extremely quickly, a very, very brief overview of the policy directions at the level of the EU, which I think is useful as background to know what is happening. But obviously, I can't go into a great deal of detail in this short time. I'd like to start with the European Green Deal.
Ian, I'm sorry to interrupt you. There is a black box over your presentation. This might be part of the Zoom.
Well, I don't know what to do because I can't see a black box myself.
I think it's covering whatever you see, all the screens that are shared. You have your cursor, the mouse is on top of it. So if you could move that aside.
But I'm sorry, I don't know. Do you mean this?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Sorry.
It's a gray box for us.
Yes.
But can you now see
it's now perfect.
You can see the whole screen now.
There is another box on the bottom, a horizontal one. So I think it's some other controls.
The problem is it's the picture. It's everybody else's, everybody who's participating. I don't know how to get rid. Maybe I can make it smaller. How about that? Voila. How's that? Has it gone now?
No.
Oh,
yes.
Yes. Perfect. Now it's there.
Great. Okay. Well, that's the first technical problem addressed. So I'm going to talk first of all about the European Green Deal. So when Ursula von der Leyen was seeking to become the president of the European Commission, she basically set out what she envisaged as the major challenges and the major areas for action for the Commission over the next 5 years. And the very first of those, she called the European Green Deal, the need to address the major environmental challenges facing the EU and the world, but obviously, particularly the EU. And she said that within the first 100 days of becoming president of the Commission, she would want to publish a roadmap how to address those challenges. And this was subsequently published at the end of 2019. It's called the European Green Deal Communication. It's a sort of roadmap for making the EU's economy more sustainable, and it addresses a very wide range of environmental areas, as you can see the headline areas on the screen: biodiversity, addressing pollution, food systems, and so on. But the key part that, of course, is of interest for us today is the part that deals with climate and energy. And these are, of course, inextricably linked together. Here you see the main elements that were put in the headline aspects that were listed in the Green Deal. So basically, it was announced that there would be a climate law to enshrine the climate neutrality objective for the EU in law. And that proposal was, as you probably know, was made in March last year, and there's now been a political agreement on that. The next key aspect was to basically look at how the EU's climate ambition could be increased. You probably remember that the target that had been set was a 40% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. And it was announced that we would look at either a 50 or 55% reduction to see how that could responsibly be achieved. And that comprehensive plan was published in the autumn last year, and basically explored the mechanisms, the routes for achieving that objective. And at the same time, it would be necessary, it was announced that there would be a review and where necessary, revision of the legislation addressing renewable energies and energy efficiency. And there are, of course, other mechanisms as well. And one of the things that's been talked about a lot is the need for a carbon border adjustment mechanism to ensure that industry within the EU that's subject to the emission trading system is not disadvantaged in relation to its competitors overseas. So the climate target plan, this was published in September last year, and basically it explores different paths to achieving climate neutrality by 2050. And essentially it's looking at the mix of policy measures and how changing that mix of policy measures affects the economy, affects employment, and all of the sort of key parameters that are of concern. And it's largely looking at the degree to which you want to try and achieve that through carbon pricing, through emission trading, or whether you also want to have a degree, or what degree of regulation of other aspects is appropriate to address or to achieve the desired targets. And of course, the setting this out in the climate target plan, part of the reason is, of course, to show the EU's commitment to its international partners that we are serious about further reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, and to encourage them to also take similarly ambitious measures, because we have a major challenge in terms of how to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions in line with the 1.5 degree C maximum temperature rise target. Oh, I'm sorry that I keep on jumping 2 slides. So of course, the climate target plan was setting out, or was exploring the balance of measures, but it's clear that to actually implement that target, so it was basically concluded that a 55% reduction is achievable by 2030, but then to actually put in place the legislation to address that requires a very large number of different pieces of legislation to be amended and tightened. And essentially what's that package of measures that's going to be needed has been called the Fit for 55 package, and it's something that the Commission has been working on very intensively since the climate target plan was published. It announced in the 2021 work program that this package that you see on the screen now, I think there are around 13 or 14 different legislative initiatives would be needed, and I've just highlighted in red the two that address renewable energies and energy efficiency directive as two key energy measures. But of course, you also have all of the aspects addressing how the emission trading system will be amended, addressing the gas infrastructures, and other much more specific things, of course, in relation to energy performance of buildings and CO2 emissions from vehicles, and also addressing fuels. So I'm not planning to go into the detail of what will be announced in these two amending proposals, but the whole of this, well, the whole of the main part of this package is envisaged to be adopted in July this year, and that includes the two that I've highlighted, the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Directive amendments. Most of the other measures will also be adopted in July. But there are a couple, for example, the energy performance of buildings that will come later in the year, and I think the methane strategy is also later in the year. But they're all part of that package of measures that are needed to achieve the 55% reduction. Now, of course, I haven't really talked about industry, but industry uses a quarter of all our energy, so clearly the sorts of measures that are envisaged are highly pertinent for industry, and it's very important that we also find ways to both reduce energy consumption, improve energy efficiency in industrial applications, and also to increase as far as possible the consumption of renewable energies by industrial installations. And in view of that, I'm very glad that this conference is taking place, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing the findings of this project. So, Andrea, thank you very much. I hand the floor back to you.
Thank you very much, Ian, for giving us this overview of what is going on the European level. I'm looking forward to seeing the new energy directive and the amendments done. I've been following the energy efficiency directives ever since I started to do my job, pretty much with the very first one. What is it, more than 10 years ago? And it is a very interesting process to see how this is developing. Are there any specific questions in the chat? Anybody has their hand raised? You can, of course, also always write something in the chat when another question comes up that you would like to ask Ian. As our next speaker, I'm happy to welcome our project's official project advisor from SINEA, Silvia Vivarelli.
Good morning. I'm
Good
trying
morning,
to put
Silvia.
on the video now.
We can see you, we can hear you very well.
You see me?
Yes, we do.
Good. And now the presentation is done. Just 1 second. Share. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, but Silvia, you have the same problem that Ian had before. Now it's better. Maybe you can move it up to the top of your screen.
Please move it. No.
Yeah, but that should work. We can see your presentation.
Can you? It's fine. It's just on the top that you have.
And the smaller one underneath, but that should be fine. It's very small. I don't think it overlaps
I
the text.
don't know how to take it out as well. I don't know why, but okay. In case you don't see something on a slide, then you tell me and we try to fix it. So good morning to everybody. My name is Silvia Vivarelli, and yes, I'm somehow managing this project on behalf of the Commission in SINEA, which is a new agency. I'm going to introduce you shortly to this agency. It's the Climate, Infrastructure and Environment Executive Agency, and I'm working in the Life, Energy and Climate Unit. So just few words on CEEI, because maybe some of you, I for sure the consortium of S-PARCS used to know the EASME, the Executive Agency for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise, in which I was working as all the colleagues in my unit. Since 1st of April this year, we moved to CEEI. So it's a new agency that is merging in itself a number of other parts of the executive agency, main one being the INEA, the Innovation and Infrastructure and Networks Executive Agency. And then in our case, as I say, the ASME for our unit, and then also other agency, parts of other agency were joined CEEI. It was decided to set up this agency, which is somehow the one that is expected to bring the main contribution to the European Green Deal. As Jan just presented, this is a main priority of the current Commission, and that's why it was felt like the need to put all together in one agency all the main parts of programs that will contribute to the objectives of the European Green Deal, to the concrete implementation of the priorities settled. So this is just an overview of the main programs that are managed in the agency. And what is specifically important for this conference are mainly two of them. So the Horizon Europe program, which is a continuation of the Horizon 2020 program, under which this project S-PARC has been, but as all the other projects of the Alliance have been supported. And now we started from this year, we have Horizon Europe, so the main research and innovation program, which is not anymore dealt within our unit, is another unit in CEEI, and where the legacy of the previous Horizon 2020 energy efficiency research and innovation projects has been also moved. So the part that was more, yes, for example, the waste heat recovery projects that were managed by us are now moved to this unit, while in our unit we manage a part of the LIFE program. So the market uptake project that used to be supported by us under Horizon 2020 will continue to be supported under the LIFE program, and I will explain you better later. And we still manage, of course, the part of the Horizon 2020 energy efficiency projects, the legacy that is more market uptake related project like S-PARCS, so coordination and support action like the S-PARC project. Looking a bit to the past, so the Horizon 2020, here I wanted just to show you what have been the relevant energy efficiency topics that we have supported under Horizon 2020 relevant to this audience. So projects supporting energy efficiency or wider sustainable energy uptake in industry. Some of them, as mentioned before, were more kind of research or research and innovation projects, and some others were coordination and support action, so without a strong technical component, more an organizational one, a setting up of different business model or building capacity. And one of those is the topic under which the S-PARC project was supported in 2017, the energy efficiency of industrial parks through energy comparison and mutualized energy services topics. And yeah, I'm not going in detail through this, but I'm going now to look a bit to the future. So this kind of project, of course, will continue to be supported. So we have two main strands of support now to support and scale up investment in energy efficiency are what is linked to the recovery plan for Europe. So the recovery package with its main next generation EU with 750 billion euro dedicated to the recovery, and this is the kind of shorter term support because it's expected to be committed by the end of 2023. And we have a bit of longer term support, that is the multi-annual financial framework with more than 1,000 billion euro allocated, which will cover the next 7 years, so until 2027. And these two strands will work in parallel. And with this, what is also interesting to see is that the whole of the package is 1.8 trillion euro, and 30% of it, so the highest share ever, because with Horizon 2020 was not reached. I think it was 25%, but now it's 30% of the total budget is earmarked to climate goals. So we see a stronger and stronger support to the objectives also of that are relevant to this project, especially in recognition of the different multiple benefit of energy efficiency investment. And in particular for industry, it's seen that it's not just about saving energy or the somehow the gains by the energy savings that would be important for an industry, but we start to see also through all the different projects we have been managing that there are different kind of benefit and gains that can be achieved through the project. And this slide is summarizing somehow by the different objectives of the support, the different kind of supporting investments. So you have for direct investments, as I said, you have what is linked to the recovery plan, so recovery and resilient facility, then the cohesion policy funds like the European Regional Development Fund or the European Social Fund, and then you might have heard already is the just transition mechanism to support territories that are somehow more affected or impacted by this clean energy transition. And underneath you have part of this transition mechanism is the InvestEU that you can see in the second part to leverage private investment specifically in infrastructure, so energy efficient and renewable based infrastructure. Then you have, as I mentioned before, Horizon Europe for research and innovation. And what specifically concern what we will be dealing with in our unit is the program addressing the market barriers for the clean energy transition in life. And then you have also some technical assistance support like Elena, managed by the European Investment Bank. Going into specifically into the life clean energy transition, so we call it LifeSet, as it's quite long. So I think all of you know what is LIFE. So the main program in Europe supporting action protecting the environment for climate mitigation and adaptation, and also for nature conservation. But starting from this new part of LIFE, so from 2021, we have a fourth sub-program, the Life Clean Energy Transition, that has been added to LIFE. And here this part of the program will be specifically focusing on energy efficiency and renewable energy activities and support. So out of the total of 5.43 billion euro that will be for LIFE, 1 billion will be for the clean energy transition for the 7 years framework, of course. And in particular, what is important to retain is that life clean energy transition will be somehow what we use to support under Horizon 2020 energy efficiency program, plus a bit of stronger focus as well on renewable energy. And then it's more the market uptake, let's say, activities that we were supporting, not anymore research and innovation. As I said before, is going to Horizon Europe part. And then that somehow the kind of action so that we will be supporting is still on supporting policy implementation, capacity building, triggering investments, mobilizing them. This with a final aim, of course, to accelerate the clean energy transition. Unfortunately, I was hoping to be able to tell you already what could be the relevant topic or priority supported under the first calls. But the whole process is a bit delayed. So we were expecting to be able to launch already the call now, but the launch of the call can be expected now in July. I cannot be more precise, unfortunately. The only thing I can show you, which is already official, is the 5 areas of intervention that we are supporting under LIFE. And under each of them, there will be specific then call topic that will be launched hopefully in July. So as mentioned before, we keep on supporting policy implementation and development, the financing, also a strong focus as always on empowering citizens, the local level, but would find also actions that are relevant for energy cooperation in industry will be under the part, the second part, which is the service and business models intervention area. And of course, we will continue to, you can expect that we will continue to support as for what concern industry, the implementation of energy audit, the building capacity and skill in industry, as well as energy cooperation and symbiosis. But also the energy cooperation will not only be seen as energy cooperation in the terms that is meant in this in the S-PARCS project, for example, but also an energy cooperation looking at the whole value chain in the production process, so involving all the different industries, but also SMEs in the full energy chain or in the full production chain. As well as some new areas like electrification. And of course, we have still a relevant, we will have still relevant topics under Horizon Europe program, and in particular under pillar number 2, there are 2 clusters, cluster 4 and cluster 5. So cluster 4 is digital industry and space, and cluster 5 is climate, energy, and mobility, under which you will have a topic. I think if it's not going to be launched today, I think it will be quite soon. It will be before the LIFE set program that you will have information about the topic under Horizon Europe program. And then, of course, I would like to invite you to keep informed also by registering. If you were not registered already to the EASME energy efficiency newsletter, register to the CINEA Clean Energy newsletter, because in this way you will be timely informed about anything like the launch of the call or anything relevant information for you, any event that could be particularly relevant to you. And also regularly we publish their success stories, so you are also informed about other successful project experience. As well, of course, we will have hopefully in July LIFE info days. So if you register to the CINEA Clean Energy newsletter, you will be informed, or you look into the CINEA website and there will be information about this. And then here are some few links for additional information. I thank you very much. And in case you have questions, of course, I'm available.
Silvia, thank you very much. I'm sure this is valuable information for many of us here who are now trying to transition from Horizon 2020 proposals to Horizon Europe and LIFE proposals and coming up with good new project ideas. It's also good to see that the budget that will be available in the next 7 years will certainly be enough to make a lot of interesting new projects possible.
Yeah. Hopefully, yes. We always look for impactful and interesting and impactful projects, yes. So
I guess for €1 billion, that's what you could get. It's always impressive to see durable numbers that are put into research, and especially climate transition. Any comments directly? If you have some more technical comments, maybe to put it in the chat for Silvia to answer them. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. It is now my turn. Let's see. To give you an introduction to the S-PARCS project. And let me start by telling you how our S-PARCS team looks like at the moment. June is our final project month. We started in March 2018. Silvia has just said it, we were funded in 2017. And we have 13 partners from 6 different countries, from Portugal, Spain, France, Austria, Italy, and Turkey. All of our partners have worked very closely in the past 3.5 years on one common goal, and that is finding out what are barriers, solutions, and instruments to make energy cooperation happen. We were lucky enough to do this not just theoretically and with desk research, but we have in our consortium 5 industrial parks who are full members of our team, and among with each other, we were able to really develop ideas for energy cooperation and industrial symbiosis projects together with them. You can here see a quick overview. We will go into much more detail about what actually happened at that park later on this morning. But just as a general information, we have 2 parks in Austria, 1 in Italy, and 2 parks in Spain. You can see here on the upper left side, Enshaven, which is an important port at the River Danube with a large container terminal, but is also a mixed business park. On the right side, we have the park in Ponte Aigola, which is right next to Pisa. We were lucky enough to have a project meeting there to see the park ourselves. And as you can see, it is located right in Tuscany. And this park is one of the leading parks in the Italian leather industry and assembles about 80 SMEs, all of which belong to the leather industry. The third park, Chemie Park Linz, which is very close to where I am right now. It's also in Austria. And our partner, Borealis, which is an international company located in this park, is one of the largest companies in Austria and one of the most energy intensive companies in Austria, using very high amounts of natural gas in their chemical processes. And then we have 2 further parks in Spain and Basque Country. Also there, we had a good meeting that was hosted by our Spanish colleagues. And these are 2 smaller parks with about 30 SMEs each. And these are, both parks are mixed business parks. A core activity of our project was to analyze these parks and to develop energy cooperation ideas with and for them. This is a process that was coordinated by our partner Tecnalia, and we will hear directly from 3 of these parks later on in this morning's webinar. What I will try to do in the next few slides is to give you an idea about how we approach this project and what kind of work process we established. You all, I guess, know that in our Horizon 2020 project, you start by setting out your objectives. And we have 4 very clearly defined objectives in our project. One is to develop replicable instruments for energy cooperation, to learn from our industrial parks, but to come up with instruments that are usable in many other parks. To make them usable, we developed business models for joint contracting of energy services. We took a deep dive into the legal and regulatory frameworks in the 3 countries where we have the lighthouse parks. And we also actively tried to build capacities in the park together with companies in the park by holding several workshops in every country and sending out as much information as we possibly could throughout our project's runtime. I will give you a quick idea, which I hope underlines how we approached the achievement of these objectives. So what we did is we started by identifying energy cooperation solutions of all different kinds. And we will hear about energy solutions later on in another presentation in more detail. And then we analyzed every solution and tried to find out what are potential barriers that can arise when implementing these solutions. And for each and every one of these barriers, we then found instruments or developed instruments that can help to overcome them. There were a lot of tools developed in our project, all of which, by the way, you can find on our website. They are all available there for free download. And later on, we will hear about one of our core activities, which was the development of an initial energy cooperation assessment tool. For all of the parks, we then picked together with the parks potential solutions that are interesting in these individual parks, and we conducted feasibility studies to get a better idea about their actual potential. Every solution, as I said before, was matched with a business model. Framework conditions were analyzed. We established a data set of key performance indicators that allows to assess the implementation of a solution right from the very beginning and to follow the progress of its implementation and success in a specific park situation. I'm giving you an overview here, but we will go into more detail today about the feasibility studies. Francesco Pecchianti will later on present what we did here. We will also give you an insider view into our initial assessment tool. Lola Menard, who was in charge of developing this tool, would give you an insight here. It's not just our tool here in S-PARCS that we will present today. We also have Yorgos on board, who is the coordinator of the Incubus project, which is a sister project of S-PARCS, part of our alliance, and which is also currently coming up and developing very interesting tools. The core partners, of course, in a project like this are our lighthouse parks, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing their perspective on our project and the future plans they have in their parks later on today. Silvia said it before, we are a coordination and support action, so coordinating with others, sharing ideas, hearing what other projects are doing has been an important part of our project. And last year, when the Alliance for Energy Cooperation in European Industries was founded, this also was for us an excellent possibility to get out our results, get in touch with other projects, with other people working on the same topic. And I think that this certainly is one of the really interesting final results of S-PARCS, to have been part of founding this alliance and to see it grow right now. I stop at this point. We are a bit late in time, and I think I've basically brought up the main points that I wanted to say. And I'm very much looking forward now to my colleagues' presentations, who will go into way more detail about these individual aspects of S-PARCS that we have looked at. Thank you. Francesco.
Yes, thank you very much, Andrea. I'm going to share my screen. Please just let me know if you can see it correctly.
Perfect.
Okay, so thank you very much for this opportunity. And I'm going to present the feasibility study we performed within S-PARCS project, some highlights of them, let's say. Indeed, we performed various feasibility studies in our lighthouse parks, and you can see here them listed here in these slides. It's very relevant to mention that for each of the lighthouse park, we studied different aspects that are very vary in terms of topic, meaning that they range from photovoltaic plant to inclusion of waste heat into the district heating network, passing through various other solutions. You can see here in these slides that some of them are, let's say, highlighted with a darker color, others are in a grayish color. The reason is that basically we performed many feasibility studies, but some of them are contains really sensitive aspects, so they are not fully shared. There are some highlights of them, but for the other ones, on the other hand, we provided all information in public deliverables. This is a similar slide to the one Andrea just presented, but a very different content. So the idea of the feasibility studies, the objective more than the idea, was to analyze the most promising energy cooperation opportunities. In this sense, our objective was to provide the solid foundation for the next step. Indeed, while these feasibility studies were part of the S-PARCS project, everything that is coming or will come after them, it's not part of the project. Indeed, this is a coordination support action, and technical installation are not funded over the project. That said, another objective was really to increase the awareness on the collaboration incentives, meaning that we started the project having the park representative, not the company ones. So we heard from Andrea and from other colleagues, we will know more about that, tens and hundreds of companies are involved in our parks, but we have only the park representatives. So one of the first objectives was really to increase the awareness on that. Finally, we studied various aspects, so ranging from the technical to the economic, passing through environmental and social aspects. Of course, being these pre-feasibility studies, we focused on the economic and technical aspect most of all, but we didn't limit ourselves on that. To really achieve these objectives, we started with interview and discussion with our park representatives and proposing some solution, ask for their feedback and so on. And this was, as I anticipated, done both with park managers and companies within the parks. The next steps was to really perform a data gathering campaign and analysis. We developed questionnaires and we asked the companies and the park managers to fill templates and so on. This was also because at that time, the tool that Lola will present later on was not yet developed. This happened in the first stage of the project. So we didn't have that tool. I would like to say that if we are doing this project again now, this part should be much faster. After that, of course, we had discussion and iterations with the park managers and the companies. So on each feasibility studies, we had many discussions, I must say, and just to really pin down every issues and ensure that the main aspects of the feasibility studies were all included. Well, after really defining the feasibility studies, further step was the preparation of the energy cooperation plans that were let's say, the summa of the whole work. Andrea already presented this information more or less. I wanted just to highlight that we identified various solutions and related barriers, and we clustered them in different categories. These solutions were from one side, let's say, just produced by ourselves as projects and as technical contributors and scientific contributors. And of course, they came directly from the need and the ideas developed within the Lighthouse Parks. The cooperation, of course, was the main focus of the project. So let's say that you can look at the solution that we identified, and you won't find any super innovative technology or something like that, because that wasn't the innovation we targeted. The innovation was much on the cooperation part. And on barriers, I should say that social and organizational one were the most crucial, just because they were, while technical ones appeared, and we are well aware of that, for example, but they are in a later stage. So just to kickstart the project and their analysis, really having information, having companies engaged was the most crucial part. So now I'm going to present you some of these feasibility studies, some highlights of them. Of course, you can find all information in our public deliverable. And starting from Ponte Egola, which is one of the most important industrial clusters for leather producing. It's in Italy, but it's an international one. The idea there was to really present and prepare a combined and power network based on different generators within different companies, and but sharing the energy and output. This was the idea that based on this network, tanneries should receive energy and heat they require, and therefore increase their performances. A further step would be to use locally produced biomethane. As you can imagine, as leather is something that is producing, can be used to produce biomethane based on. And the idea would be that this could be a second step to really increase the benefits. The results that we achieved is that it's feasible, the investment is feasible, both from the capital investment and operational expenditure. So this is really self-sustainable, and the very next step would be to engage all the stakeholders, and in particular financing bodies. But as you can see in this spider chart, we are very happy about that, and I think that probably Francesco Spennati later on can spend a couple of words more on that. And the idea is that while this first step is let's say the easier one, just because also CHP are quite a consolidated technology, the next step would be really to go on with the biomethane production. And Schaffen, it's the one park that was presented also by Andrea before, which is in Austria, and it's a modern port park in Austria, and due to its very particular characteristic, the large majority of employees are car commuters. In this sense, what we analyzed is how to make this even more sustainable. And given also the forecast about the e-mobility, what we studied was a shared e-charging station. So instead of having different companies just installing their own charging infrastructure for cars, how to optimize the number of them based on the whole park level and the forecasted number of employees. And this was one solution. On the other side, which is also complementary to it, it's the jointly installation of PV panels, photovoltaic panels. So there are many different companies. Some of them require more electricity than others. Some of them do have more suitable rooftops and so on. And the idea is that based on these cooperation aspects, this could be even increase the performances. Both of them were, let's say, evaluated positively. This is relevant. And in particular for the shared charging points, the result is that a significant cumulative economic advantages could be achieved over individual charging points. And the idea is that as a next step, starting with some of them, this could be the real process to implement this solution. At the same time, the companies that were analyzed for the PV panels were all suitable. Let's say that this was really part of the work that we did, meaning that we started just analyzing them in the first phase, and we got a confirmation that they were suitable for this installation. And the financing scheme that we envisaged was favorable, and we analyzed the possibility to reduce the capital necessary for just installing the panel, just through cooperation. Of course, the next step in this case would be to start building them, just getting offers and so on. In Spain, we analyzed, due to the peculiarity of this park, they have 2 dams that were not in use that are not in use at this time, and the idea is to invest in micro hydropower. These parks are part of the Industrial Deck Initiative. I hope that I pronounce it more or less correctly, and it is promoted by the Basque government. Given their peculiarity, there is a very wide range of companies there, and in any case, all of them need electricity, as all companies. And due to the already existence of these dams, you can see a picture there. I hope you can see something. Of course, it's not a huge hydropower dam or something like that, but given its presence close to the park, it would be relevant to exploit it. And unfortunately, let's say, due to the specificity of this project, as it was studied at the very beginning, it's the only self-consumption has proved not to be viable for this project from the economic and financial perspective. As you can see in the spider chart, other aspects like technical aspects, environmental aspects, and so on were evaluated positively. So the idea is that this could be viable in case of some additional financing for micro hydropower. So maybe within the whole green energy transition, this could be a viable option. This is the idea, but at the moment, just given the current condition, unfortunately, this option was not evaluated positively. The last park, I'm going to present some results. It's Chemie Park Linz, as the name suggests, in Linz. And due to its own history through time, it maintains a common steam and cooling water network used by the different companies in the park. This system is, of course, optimized, but what we looked at were additional opportunities for improving it and take advantage of this common infrastructure. Specifically, the idea that was studied more in detail was the utilization of waste heat produced by Chemie Park Linz. As you can imagine, there are multiple, we identified multiple streams of waste heat, but specifically some of them more relevant. And the idea was to connect that to the local district heating network, to the city of Linz. So not only focusing on the perimeter of the park, but just going out there. Specifically, we identified different options, and the one I'm just mentioning now, it's the first one. So to use this waste heat for the district heating network in winter. And during summer, the idea is that summers are getting hotter and hotter. This is something related to climate change. And therefore, where cooling was not needed, now it's starting to be needed. And therefore, in offices and so on, the idea is to use this waste heat just through absorption chillers to get cooling production. Other options were analyzed. But this is, you can see some highlights there, but this one was the most interesting. Specifically, due to the location of Chemie Park Linz and how the distributed network is built, it was very positively evaluated, this project. And as environmental and climate matters are of increasing interest, both for the city of Linz, Chemie Park, and more or less all actors there, the idea is that using waste heat instead of other sources, it's one of the best options possible. And in this sense, this is going on. So as a conclusion, I would like to say that we perform different feasibility studies of a great diversity, as you have seen here a few highlights. And specifically, we focused on the barriers and instruments for them, and so on. You can find, as I anticipated, the full details. I tried to give you a highlight of them in deliverable 5.4, which is on our website. And I would like to highlight that the methodologies we followed was one of the most important part of this project, because these feasibility studies might be replicated in other conditions, other parks, and so on. They are not anything really strange, let's say, but what is most important to be replicated is the methodology that we achieved. And I would like to highlight that in every park we analyzed, we found solutions. So this is, I think, the most important aspect that we can take from the S-PARCS experience. So I would like to thank you all, and if there is any question, I can try to answer it.
First of all, thank you very much, Francesco, for a very comprehensive overview of what has been a huge task and a big job that Rina coordinated in our project. First of all, let me please all remind you that in the chat, we posted the link to the public deliverable that was produced for these feasibility studies. As you can imagine, there were a lot of confidential information was exchanged that we could not publish, but I think we have a very good overview of everything that Francesco has just presented. Francesco, may I read a question to you from Silvia?
Yes. Sure.
Sylvia says, could you please clarify at which stage of concrete development are the identified solutions?
Okay, so I think that I can provide some answers, but please, as we have the other partners here, I think that it could be even better to, if I say anything wrong. So basically, for a Spanish park, I think that the LED option is being implemented, as well as photovoltaic plant. They got some offers, but are not yet, I think they are under evaluation. While for Ponte Egola, as I identified in the next step, they are working on getting offers and having financing for that. And this is it. While for Enschafen, I think that, please, Werner, correct me if I'm wrong, but they already installed some of the e-charging station, or they are working on that. While for the PVs, again, they are working on how to set up the entire thing. And for what it concerns...
sorry, Francesco, I will present something a little bit later in detail.
Perfect. This is great. And for Chemie Park Linz, I'm sure that what they are doing right now is the discussion is going on among Chemie Park representative and the district heating network provider. This is a really huge and longer term project, but given technical and economical figures, I think that they are working on getting all number pinned down, and for sure there will be a negotiation phase on that, but we hope in the next year to be able to say that in Linz they implemented this solution.
Yeah, I can add to that as Francesco showed, and as I said before, we are talking about a really big project that is going on there to integrate the Chemie Park Linz waste heat into the district heating network. This is a discussion that has been going on for a long time and is now, I think, accelerating in a very positive way. Chemie Park Linz is also partner in a new recently started Horizon 2020 project that is actually a technical project looking at the actual installation of the technologies needed to make this happen.
I can see also a question from Paul about general figures. I don't have it right now under my eyes, but some of them are included in the public deliverable. You can take a look at that. And generally speaking, I should say that as you can see from some of the spider chart, the idea is that we identified various KPIs, and whenever they were evaluated positively, they are over the 0% figure, while when they are not, they are under the 0%. So this is a general overview for you, yeah, but if you want to look at more specific numbers, you will find them in the deliverable. You're welcome.
To answer, I think also from Silvia, the other project is called Corales. Maybe Valerie?
Yes.
Can you say a sentence about the activities going on there?
Actually, in terms of Chemie Park, not too much, as I'm not directly involved.
Okay.
But yes, it's really about getting hands-on industrial symbiosis that could be implemented. In Corales, there are 3 demonstration cases and 3 follower cases, which are not that far developed yet at the current stage, and Chemie Park Linz is one of these followers. Yeah, but the technical assessment is currently going on. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Valerie. The Chemie Park Linz certainly is an interesting example here on a different scale than the other parks that we have. I guess it's quite unique. We not only have several large energy intensive companies from the chemical industry, but right next door is Austria's largest steel plant, which on its own produces roughly 10% of Austria's overall CO2 emissions. So as you can imagine, this whole industrial area that we have, and what is also pretty unique is it's right in the middle of the city of Linz. So as you can imagine, there are a lot of potentials, and a lot is happening and going on here, not just when it comes to waste heat, but also hydrogen production, and other topics that are also part of several other Horizon 2020 projects. I would like to thank Francesco again for the presentation. And before we go to our next speaker, I would like to invite you to go to slido.com and enter the code NCOOP, Energy Corporation. And there we would like to ask you a few questions throughout this morning, but let's just quickly start with one that gives us a good impression, I guess, of who our audience is today and where you're all coming from. I will stop sharing and not take any time away from Lola. I will put the link and the password in the chat for you to find it again.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen.
Works perfectly, Lola.
Okay, perfect. Check. No, it's okay. No, can you see it?
That's gone. It was here.
Check.
Yes, 2 screens, Lola. I think it shows on the other screen.
This one, yes. One moment.
There
I
it
think
is.
I'm having some problems with my Windows account. Now I have to activate it. One moment. I think it's because of that. Give me a second. Stop the sharing.
While Lola,
Sorry, sorry about that.
it is all right. I guess we all know that. And while you are working on it, I can show you some results. We are a mixed group with, not surprisingly, I would say, 38%
Now the screen.
from academic backgrounds. I will stop. And now it works.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Lola, sorry, it's gone again.
I don't know what's going on.
Lola,
Can you give me some-
maybe try to start the presentation first and then share directly the screen which is in presentation mode. This sometimes helps.
Okay, let me. It's the first time it happened to me. Okay.
Otherwise, I will be displaying it.
Can you share? Should one of us share
Or
it for you,
maybe-
Lola?
Yes, I think it's the best
Yes.
way. Otherwise, I will take all the time just trying to share.
Do you have it at hand, Bartolome?
Yes, I'll do it.
Great, thank you.
Sorry about that. I don't know. It's the first time it happens to me.
Don't worry. We all know that. Don't worry.
I had to
Is
check
it
with my
working?
colleagues. Yes. Thank you very much. Okay. So I'm going to present the tools that have been developed in the project S-PARCS. Lola Mainar, I'm on behalf of CIRCE Foundation, and together with my colleagues, we have been responsible of the development and design of the tools of S-PARCS. The main aim of these tools is to overcome the non-technical barriers in energy cooperation in industrial parks and companies, and fostering the collaboration between industrial parks also and with other external facilitators or supporting companies, etc. So these objectives are also connected to other ones that have to do with the content of these tools by raising an awareness on energy cooperation issues. We have included a section of energy cooperation for beginners, connecting that I will explain later in more detail, connecting stakeholders of all over Europe through the best practice, a section of best practices, assessing and identifying tailor-made energy cooperation solutions for industrial parks through an initial assessment energy cooperation tool, and supporting the implementing of these energy cooperation solutions identified in the tool by networking between industrial parks and stakeholders and the S-PARCS community matchmaking tool. Next, please. Okay, so before of explaining all of them, for using the tools, mainly the S-PARCS YAT and the matchmaking tool called community tool, the community tool, you need to register, and there are 2 roles where you can register. One of them is the park representative, and the other one is the stakeholder. The park representative is the person in charge of represent the industrial park that wants to use the S-PARCS YAT. And the stakeholder is the the profile of the supporting company that want to support industrial parks and companies in making real this implementation. We have developed also an interactive guide to navigate through all the section of the platform that I will explain right now. It's called, you can access through, once you register, you can access through a button that is at the top of the web page and on the right-hand side. And you can also find all this information in the web page of the platform, that is sparks/community.eu. Next, please. So the main components of the platform are, first of all, a section of energy cooperation for beginners, where we give some brief but I think important information related to what is energy cooperation, what kind of energy cooperation solutions have been identified in the project in previous steps, and that have been included in the public deliverables, but we have tried to extract the most important information in a user-friendly way. Another section of the platform is the barriers to energy cooperation and solutions, where we tried, as Andrea also explained, to obtain the barriers that might appear in the implementation, in the process of the implementation of the solutions. It can be in the part of the technical implementation, or in legal and regulatory, or organizational, etc. Different factors that can affect to this implementation. And also we give some brief information on the type of business solutions that can be agreed between the companies within the industrial parks. We also have a section of best practices where the parks can give the visibility of their energy cooperation solutions once they have been implemented successfully. Right now we have some past best practices that have already worked properly, and they were extracted in the previous steps of the project. First steps of the project. You are open if you want to publish any of your best practices in your industrial parks. You are open to send them to us, and we will publish it in this section. Okay, next, please. Okay, and right now I'm going to explain in a little bit what is the S-PARCS initial assessment tool. This is a high-level tool that is a decision-making tool that wants to give a first overview of what kind of energy cooperation solutions or mutualized services can be implemented in through the collaboration of the different interest companies within an industrial park. In this sense, we make a short questionnaire to the key companies and the industrial park representative on how is their starting situation, and from there we give a list of possible energy cooperation solutions that can be implemented. Together with that, for each of the solutions, we give some information in terms of potential benefits by implementing those solutions, and also the barriers associated with that solution and the instruments to overcome those barriers. But also we give, if you, for example, from that list, you are interested in one or two solutions, you can go more in detail, and you can answer a few questions related to the questions that have to do with the KPIs for the feasibility studies that Francesco has already explained. And we give, let's say, high-level feasibility study for those solutions where you have answered those questions. And you also can compare those solutions in terms of feasibility studies by selecting those solutions. This window shows how is the comparison of those two solutions, and gives the KPIs for each of the solutions. Okay, so this is for S-PARCS yet. And then we also have developed another tool, which is called S-PARCS Community. Basically, it's a matchmaking tool between industrial parks and supporting institutions, enterprises, etc. We have called it stakeholders, and they can be they can give support in terms of legal, financial, economic, or technical support. In this tool, you can enter as representative of the park or as stakeholder, and you at the end of the process you can match together if you are both of you are interested in collaborating. This, and also through this tool, as a park, as industrial park, you also can network with other industrial parks. For example, if you have a problem and you want to find out how to solve it, you can network with another park that have had the same problem, or you just want to collaborate with other parks for whatever you need. You can do it through this tool. Okay, next please. And also to give more support in using this or going through this platform, there is another section that is called How Can I Start, where depending on your profile, if you are part company or a stakeholder, it indicates you where you can go or you should go through the tool, which path you should follow through this platform. And next, please. So the main, the target audience of these tools, as you have seen, mainly are industrial parks, companies that are invited by the representative of the park, and on the other hand, on the other side, stakeholders that want to support industrial parks in implementing the energy cooperation solutions that have been identified in the S-PARCS yet. So you can register through those roles, as I explained before, as a park representative or as a stakeholder. And just as a conclusion or next steps, just to the main aim of the S-PARCS community now is to understand the industrial parks performance and the willingness of participating in energy cooperation solutions, and also to network with other parks. And in this sense, these tools can be somehow have the role of an external facilitator in the first steps, no? And then you can go for more detail or more in deep once you start to implement the solution, or you want to start to implement the solution. Right now, the main challenge of this is to create a robust and engaged community of follower parks to keep it alive. We want to at least these tools can be the starting point for other tools that have synergies. And for example, that's why some of the resources, the Alliance that we have now, and other projects also we have identified that can start from this and work together in parallel. And just to recap, is the full support from S-PARCS give the industrial parks the basic knowledge for going forward with energy cooperation solutions within parks, but transferring knowledge and fostering networking between industrial parks and interested stakeholders. And that's all from myself. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Lola. And
sorry for the technical problems.
No problem. Sylvia has a question for you.
Yes.
Will the S-PARCS community be maintained after the end of the project? And the answer is yes. And how are we going to do that?
Yes, we have developed an exploitation plan for that. Of course, we have maintained for the 2 years post-project the direction, but we want to give it more life, no? And that's why we are now trying to find the way to keep it alive or to be used for other projects that have to do with the same issues of as S-PARCS.
Mm.
I don't know if Andrea, you want to add anything else?
No, it was the plan from the start to have it going for several years after the project end. And we are already looking at new opportunities now in Horizon Europe to continue working together as a consortium to take this tool. CESE, of course, as the ones who have developed this, are involved in many other projects where it can be used again, developed further. And I think we already have a bunch of good ideas of what to do with the tool in new projects. In any case, I think it's going to give a good starting base for new endeavors that we're going together. So thank you, Lola. Please just go and try it out. It's free. Nothing bad can happen. The interactive guide that our colleagues from CESE made, I think makes it very easily usable. But you will find all of our contact details anyway on the website, on LinkedIn. Just don't hesitate to get in touch whenever there is something you would like to know. We are a little bit behind schedule, but I guess a coffee refill would be a nice idea anyway. And we have a bit of a leeway in between where we can shorten one of the sessions. So I suggest we meet again at 11, and I hope to see you all back here for a fun and interesting presentation from Anna, who will introduce us to this new pretty fabulous group, if I may say so, that is the Alliance for Energy Cooperation. See you in a bit. That looks good already, Anna.
Do you have, because I can see you, okay, I'll move it here. So now there is no black box, right?
There is no black box, no?
Okay, perfect. Okay, let's wait a couple of minutes for everyone to return.
Yeah.
It's always easier when you count on time to try out. Make sure that the screen works well.
But we tested it also with Lola. Sometimes things just happen.
Absolutely, but when you have a bit more time, it always works better than when you are in a rush, because it's
Yeah.
So in my case, I had like more than 5 minutes. So, but yeah, there are always technical issues. I don't know how, but there are always something happening. So the point is about how to solve it when it happens.
I guess we just all need to be patient with each other.
Yeah.
With all these different tools and using them in different ways.
No, and even the same tool, I've used Zoom several times, and still sometimes I struggle to find where is its button that you need to press. So, okay, so it's 11. So maybe we can start with the presentation, or would you like me to wait a couple of minutes more?
The same number of participants are logged in, so I guess, please, Anna.
Okay, I'll start then. So welcome back, everyone. We were talking before about how the S-PARCS community will be maintained over time, and that's one of the topics that is kind of pressuring us working in European projects. And this is one of the things that we've come up with. We decided that we started working 5 different projects, and we thought, how can we take this further? So I'm going to introduce you to the Alliance for Energy Cooperation in European Industries, which is one initiative we've set up to ensure that this work that individual projects are doing is not lost, and it's also maintained across time. So what is the Alliance for Energy Cooperation in European Industries? It's a collaborative initiative that, as I said, 5 European Union-funded projects working on waste heat recovery and industrial energy cooperation have set up. These are the 5 projects: Embers, Incubis, Races, So What, and S-PARCS, of course. And these 5 initiatives are combining the efforts of 64 unique partners across 18 different European countries. And in total, they together sum 14.5 million in funding. And how did it all begin? Well, as I said, we just had a call with different related projects looking for synergies. And we were thinking, okay, how can we collaborate? Where can we do joint work? And first thing, we decided to do a workshop. We were exploring different ways on how to collaborate. And then we did a workshop. We held it on November 2021. And as everything is going on, it was an online webinar or workshop. And we also launched a joint press release about it. We were very happy with the outcomes, and given the success of this action, we held another call in March 2021 and to how to take this further, to explore further ways to keep on collaborating. And during that call, we decided to write a letter of intent and set up an EU energy cooperation initiative, and that's how this Alliance for Energy Cooperation in European Industries was born at first. So these are the 5 projects that have set up the Alliance. As you can see, well, all of them, we are not going to get into detail about each of them, but we can later on provide the different websites, and here you have a glimpse. So the So What project is about generating and auditing tool for energy, waste heat and cold recovery. Incubis is about energy symbiosis mainly. RACES is about clustering these industrial ecoregions. Embers is more about, again, waste heat and cold recovery as well, and matching energy sources with the demand. And about S-PARCS, well, you've seen a bit more of this project which, during this workshop, because they are presenting the main outcomes, so I don't think there needs to be further explanation on them. But the main idea is that they all revolve around, well, I'm going back one more, they all revolve around reusing, recovering, and collaborating in different industries for the reuse of energy and the recovery of energy. That's the main goal they all have in common, and what they mainly seek. And why is this alliance relevant? Well, this alliance is relevant because energy cooperation has a huge potential, and especially when it comes to waste heat and cold recovery. And energy represents up to 20% of the total production costs for industries in Europe. So it's huge, and there is a huge potential to recover this, to reduce the spent and wasted heat and cold. And this will lead not only to this energy recovery, but to energy savings, but overall to contribute to the decarbonization and the reduction of CO2 emissions that we are seeking so intensively. So it's what we have in common, all these projects, all this energy recovery and energy efficiency in industry presents a huge potential. So it's something that it's really important in this sense. What are we seeking more specifically? Well, we are looking to enhance the collaboration to boost energy efficiency in European industries, as the name of the alliance per se explains. We are seeking also to maximize the impact of these different projects to improve the quality and the relevance of the outputs that we are achieving. And it's really important because we are working in different realms of this industrial energy cooperation, but we don't want to make double efforts, and we can learn from each other so much that putting in common all the work we are doing is really relevant, and also to validate once we are validating the results from the different projects. So I think it's of utmost importance. We are hoping to boost industrial symbiosis as well as waste heat and cold recovery and reuse. And this, as I explained before, will ultimately contribute to achieve the 2050 goal of zero net carbon emissions. We started, the 5 of us together, but we are now looking, or we are open for further projects and even individual entities to join. And we have listed a set of requirements of what they should be working on. But if you look at them, it's basically anyone, any project, any individual entity working on energy cooperation in the industrial realm is really welcome to join this alliance. We are still setting up the guidelines on how are we working. So far, we have decided that we will remain, the 5 projects are going to remain the board members, but we are welcoming anyone else to join. And this will also provide continuity to projects like S-PARCS, which are finalizing. And we are looking into further activities. So far, we have these things planned. We are aiming to participate in the European Union Sustainable Energy Week that is taking place in October altogether. We already set up, we are working on the setting up of a website, and we already have a joint email address and joint social media networks. We are holding today our joint workshop in the framework of the S-PARCS final event. And we are also looking into participating together in the European Commission's Horizon Results Booster. This is all what has been already decided, but we keep on exploring different opportunities to collaborate. And as we welcome new members, I think this will also broaden a lot. And then we, as I said, we will soon launch our website. Some of the Embers team is working on the development of it, and this is the address that we can put it on the chat now, and it will be up soon. It's still under construction, but it will be ready soon. And I don't know if you have any questions or comments. This is time to make them, but I'm going to move to this slide just for you to see which is our LinkedIn and our Twitter channel. Those ones are already operative, as it is the email address. So if you have any interest in joining the Alliance or in participating, collaborating with us, or if you just want to reach out, make us any questions, please feel free. We would be really happy to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Anna. I think you just showed why this is such an interesting cooperation for all the partners involved. There are many possibilities. What I can say is, as I've been part of all the activities that Anna's just mentioned, we're also very effective and energetic group of people who have a lot of fun also in setting up this cooperation. So yeah, here is all the information, and Bartholomew, we will put all of that in the meeting notes where we put all the other links so that you can easily find them again.
I think Sylvia
there
posted
is a
a
question from there is a question from Sylvia asking whereas we are planning to collaborate with what used to be SPIRE, so the Sustainable Process Industries through Resource and Energy Efficiency. Well, I guess S-PARCS is not part or is not related to SPIRE, but I think
the So What
all
project,
the other projects are, right?
Yes, the So What project, for instance, is part of SPIRE. So yes, that's actually a really great idea to get in touch with SPIRE and ask them also if they would like somehow as SPIRE, or they could just help us to reach out to other projects that may be interested. So either way, we will definitely reach out to them and see how we can collaborate with them to take this collaboration further. Thank you for, actually, it's a great idea.
Yes, and I think SPIRE is already supporting dissemination of the Alliance communications on social media already. So
yes, indeed.
And yeah, all the other projects are SPIRE.
And I think that you mentioned it, the Horizon Results Booster possibility that we are right now all working on together under the leadership of the Embers project is also going to bring up, hopefully, a whole set of additional new ideas of how to extend our outreach.
Yes, absolutely.
So thanks a lot, Anna. And as we are talking about the Alliance, I'm happy to say hi to Yorgos from the Incubus project, who will give us some ideas about what they are working on when it comes to tools in their project.
Thank you, Andrea. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me well.
Can hear you well.
Excellent. So I will just share my screen now. Can you see it?
Perfectly.
Great. So good morning. As Andrea introduced and Anna before her, we are from Incubus project. I am coordinating on behalf of Ares Technology and Solutions. We are also part of the Alliance, and we are funded by SPIRE, as you can see in the screen now. And I will start the presentation. The presentation today will be about energy symbiosis. I think it's the last presentation before the open session, the discussion. So I think it's a good point here to discuss more broadly about what is energy symbiosis and what are maybe the maybe put a framework on how to discuss its barriers and opportunities, and then close with a few words on Incubus and what we are doing about that. So jumping straight into the presentation, I will not stay in this slide. I mean, this is just to set a little bit the context, but I think you have the context already. As mentioned before, there is a great potential to capitalize on the energy losses, so the energy inefficiencies, especially from the energy intensive industries. But you know, there are some challenges there. There's been decades of efforts of capitalizing on this, exploiting these inefficiencies internally. So it's basically increasing process efficiency, or maybe the efficiency at the factory level. But the thing is that very little effort has been made to exploit excess heat and cold, basically, between different industries or between urban and industrial environments. And the argument is that nowadays most of the potential is to be found there, because in many industries the processes have already become quite efficient and there is few space for improvement. And before I jump into discussing what energy symbiosis is doing about that and how it's related to that, I think first it's useful to put it in the context of industrial symbiosis, which I have a definition here. It's not a definition you would probably find in a textbook because there are so many of them, but I think it's, broadly speaking, industrial symbiosis is it's a commercial strategy according to which industries engage in business with each other, trading and selling their byproducts, their waste and other excess resources. So we're talking about wastewater, about solid waste, organic fractions, non-organic, inorganic fractions. And also we're talking about energy, most typically energy in the form of excess heat or excess cold. Sometimes we also talk about energy carriers, so material that can be converted to energy and so on. And you can see here the example of the Norrköping, if I pronounce this correctly, in Sweden, industrial system, where we have a big number of what you see with the arrows here, different byproducts and waste channeled from one industry to the other, and also with the municipality. And you can see in red the cases where we have energy symbiosis. So from the power plant, steam is directed to the ethanol plant, and other excess heat is directed through district heating to the city. So to be more precise, when we're talking about energy symbiosis, we're talking strictly about exploitation of energy efficiency opportunities found across industrial sites and across sectors. And it's always good to talk a little bit more specific about these things. So here's an example, and this is an example provided to us by an Incubus partner, which is the Eide cluster in Norway. And this is an existing energy symbiosis synergy or system, if you will, which is located in the southwest of Norway in Kvinesdal. The resource valorizes excess heat, which is then used to provide the service of heating through a district heating network. The provider of the heat is a silico-manganese smelter. And the heat initially was channeled to a onshore fish farm, but subsequently it was expanded to 5 other locations, 5 other companies. And this obviously is happening through an industrial heat system operator. So already you can see that by today we are talking about a synergy, a system that includes a provider, an operator, and at least 6 users. So it's already a system including 8 stakeholders. And this kind of shows also the challenge here and the maybe particularity of these types of agreements, very typically multi-stakeholder agreements. And we have here a list of success factors that I think apply for many of the energy symbiosis cases. So the close proximity is crucial, obviously, because of heat losses, but also investment costs in pipelines and so on. The collaboration between the multiple actors is essential. So much so that personal relations are sometimes key for starting the synergy. And also progressive deployment in most cases of energy symbiosis, like you've seen before in Sweden. You saw a very complicated network where it didn't start being complicated. It started with a single synergy and progressively it expanded. And the same is here. It started with a single transfer of heat from one company to another, and it progressively became more complex and larger. However, although we have all these examples, and although I think the potential of energy symbiosis is proven and obvious, there are a number of barriers, and this has been discussed before today. I would like to put them here to you through a different framework, rather than listing social, organizational, economic, technical, and so on. What we do in Incubus as well, we take this approach. We say, well, the barriers basically are all or most of them producing some risk. So we have risk in energy symbiosis. We have huge potential, but also increased risk. And risk is a subjective notion. It has to do with some objective factors sometimes, but also it has to do with the capacity of organizations and stakeholders to manage this risk and reduce this risk. So when it comes to energy symbiosis, we have concluded that there's a very high risk at the project development stage of energy symbiosis project. So up until the point where you have to submit a business case to the investor or the decision maker that will finance the solution, and this has to be approved. So this is when the risk is higher, and the reason is because they are complicated projects that require long project development, maybe sometimes 1 or 2 years, and the uncertainty at this point that the investment in the project development will pay back is very, very low. So what do you do about that? There is also a very low risk tolerance for investments. Why? Because they involve waste and byproducts, and there are the management of the supply risk there is tricky and familiar to many businesses. And there is also the lack of skills and capacities to de-risk and manage all these problems. As a result, energy symbiosis projects often get stuck at the project development stage. They never go through to implementation. I would say from experience, most energy symbiosis projects that reach implementation, they have no problems. They're quite successful, I would say. But there is also a solution that is proposed and that has been proven. I think over 90% or over 90% of successfully implemented energy symbiosis projects used an intermediary called facilitator that is there to help overcome barriers, manage risks, and deliver the projects. So they are a kind of project developer, but with a more enhanced and a bit different role, I would say. So basically, the conclusion from all this is that we need to generate more facilitators in order to increase the uptake of energy symbiosis. This is the simple conclusion from all this discussion. Who are these?
Yorgos, if I may just ask you to make it in 2 minutes, let's say, as we're running a bit out of time. Thanks.
So who are these facilitators? Unfortunately, there are a number of different organizations. They are not a specific type that somebody could easily target. I will not go through them, but you can see here that they can be private, public organizations, municipalities, for example. They can be often private-public partnerships, and oftentimes even they can be research institutions. So, and each of them, they have different motivations for being facilitators. So it's a complicated landscape. And they need to be basically to take energy symbiosis projects. And again, I will not stay in this slide a long time, and take them through the life cycle from the preliminary assessment of opportunities in a certain region all the way to the feasibility and implementation of the project, which requires different skills and capacities at each stage. So just to close, what we basically propose is the concept of energy symbiosis incubator, where we incubate facilitators. So we go to organizations that are well positioned to be facilitators, and they have the motivation to do so as well. And we provide them with all the tools, instruments, and capacity building activities and supports that they need to gain these capacities and be able to facilitate energy symbiosis also by themselves without our support. So I think this is the presentation from my side. We are at incube/ies.eu. You can find more information, and this is the consortium. And thank you very much for listening. Any questions?
Thank you, Yorgos. And you are a pretty young project, aren't you? I think you're about a year and a half in, so.
Exactly, yes. We are 13, 14 months in the project. We have almost 20 months to go. And well, I didn't want to stay too much discussing our project, but we are currently active in 5 different regions across Europe, which is Spain, Germany, UK, Norway, and France, but we are in specific regions in these countries. And we are doing activities there. We expect in the next year to release an online platform, because the incubator will have a virtual form and be able to support facilitators and projects around Europe.
Great. Thank you very much, Yorgos. So we, as it is pretty usual, isn't it? We're running out of time. And I think the really interesting part is coming up now in the session that our colleague Eleonora is moderating, and where we will hear a bit more from her and her team's activities in S-PARCS, as well as from our industrial parks. For this co-creation exercise that we had originally planned now, we have prepared a bunch of questions. Still, I think it's more important to hear from the parks and from Eleonora than necessarily spending a lot of time now with the questions. But still, we would really love to hear your answers. So these questions are running in the background now when you go to slido.com and with the same password and coop. Just take it's an easy survey. I'd love to hear your answers. And that can easily run in the background, and we will reflect on that either later today after this session, or we will think about it in our consortium. But now, Eleonora, please.
Thank you, Andrea, for introducing this session on challenge and opportunity related to energy cooperation at the European industrial level. So I'm going to share my screen in order to introduce the topic related to this session, because during the S-PARCS project, we have identified the steps for reaching the energy cooperation. We can summarize after the previous presentation 3 main steps that are related to the collection of information for assessing solution related to energy cooperation in the involvement of stakeholders. And then the management of information that might be confidential and critical for a company located to industrial parks. Then we move to the second steps that is related to identification, because after the first assessment related to the potential energy cooperation solution, we need to evaluate through pre-feasibility or feasibility study, as Francesco has already presented, in order to identify the most feasible energy cooperation solution. At the end, we need to exploit the benefit associated with the energy cooperation solution that these first two steps identified, that is related to the design and implementation of business model for energy cooperation. For these reasons, during the project, we identified 3 different approaches for assessing and evaluating energy cooperation solution. In particular, there are some industrial parks that have applied a top-down approach, other bottom-up or mixed approach. Because we identify different peculiarity that we have to be reminded if we want to boost energy cooperation at the industrial level. So this is something that is strongly connected with the overall aim of Incubus project, where it's very crucial the role of industrial parks, the park manager, and facilitator. But we have to be reminded the peculiarity, the sector that are involved into the industrial parks that want to implement energy cooperation. And finally, we work on the identification and the taxonomy of business model for energy cooperation. And in particular, we identify 3 archetypes of business model for energy cooperation that are more related to energy field. That means the first one, the implementation of more energy efficient measure and solution for companies located into the industrial parks. The other one is more related to the use of waste heat, waste energy present into the industrial park. And the last one is the promotion of energy, renewable energy solution at industrial park level. Now I'm going to introduce the speaker into this session, because I think that it's very useful give the floor to the industrial parks that are directly involved into the S-PARCS project, and then we have a guest from the other project, in order to give them the chance to highlight the takeaway from the project. So what are the opportunity and challenge that they are facing for implementing energy cooperation solution into the park? Thank you. Please, so I give the floor to Werner from the Enschaffen Industrial Parks. So please. I don't know if he's ready to share the screen.
Werner, can you try sharing your screen? Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, and in full screen, working perfectly. Floor is yours, Werner.
All right. Well, I will present you some slides regarding challenges and opportunities of Enshafen. Enshafen industrial port and industrial business park in Austria. Well, we are a port in Austria. By the way, we are a port in Austria on the mouth of the river Enns to the Danube. We are an open park with more than 60 companies and 2,600 employees plus minus. Out of these figures, you see that this is not a closed shop. This is a really huge area of more than 3.5 million square meters with several infrastructures and settled industries. Our core intention is public-private partnership between the public service providers like the port and the private enterprises doing the business here. We are on the 10T core node Rhine-Danube, and we have a really good infrastructure implemented for a great logistic hub and the perfect location, perfect surroundings to all the great modes of logistic. And what is the special situation? We have a very heterogenic business, including the whole area. We have not only the logistic industries, but we have wood processing company, industrial laundry services, specialist recycling companies producing of grain and animal feed. And in this whole section, we have even automotive suppliers, machineries, things like this, and all the logistic companies as well. You see from this is a really great mixture. 40 years ago, we have been founded, and there was no master plan for this whole area. There was the initial point to start with a port and great surroundings of grounds, of industrial grounds, and the development due to the fact that there have been several or a lot of private investors and private ground owners brought the situation that heterogeneous branches have been settled during the years in this site. We have some shared infrastructures, but we are open. We are not a closed shop of a total regulated infrastructure and service unit. We are open. And so we have a great mixture and a great bunch of owners and of different developments. From this, there has been low level of industrial and energy cooperation on the whole site. And please remind 3.5 million square meters. A lot of these companies developed during the years by their own, in close neighborhood to others, but no great cooperation. New energy items have been erected. Actually, we are facing the future decades coming to us. And what are inland ports and their surroundings maybe look like in 2050? Are they becoming some like a power station or things like this? You can read all these items nearly weekly in the corresponding brochures and newsletters and things like this. We have great developments in the past, and we are facing and looking into the future areas, into the future decades, and we are strongly convinced that we have to improve all these cooperations and all these developments in order to reach our goals, in order to reach our targets coming to us 2030, 2040, 2050. During the project S-PARCS, we have established a lot of measures. We have established a energy cooperation development plan, and 3 detailed feasibility studies we have done, which have gone to detail and which have brought some very good results. These are the photovoltaic installations on the premises, as you have seen from the pictures, for 3.5 million square meters in total. You can imagine that we have a huge number of roofs on these great buildings and a lot of brownfield regions, perfectly organized, perfectly prepared to install photovoltaics in the future. We have more or less 2,600 employees on this great area. Shared e-mobility charging points will be a challenge because of the wide spreading of the people and of the parking spaces. When you can arrange it on a dense closed shop system, this would be no problem. But please consider we are spread between this great area. Shoreside electricity for the port users, namely for vessels, for heavy-duty vehicles, are a really great challenge coming to us. We have already installed LNG for trucks, but we are facing the next developments in these years.
Werner, sorry for interrupting. May I ask you to close for some closing remarks?
Some closing remarks. We are going to focus on these developments we have done in this feasibility studies, but we are facing other B2B cooperation between the companies, B2B energy cooperations. We have installed a park-wide workshop system under an existing board of the company, and we are facing the new Austrian law on energy development, which shall be published this year. We have installed loading stations as well, and we are looking to the future. Plus minus, this was the short situation here in Enshaven, Austria. Okay.
Thank you, Werner, for your presentation, for showing us the positive effect related to the internal work of S-PARCS for implementing energy cooperation during the S-PARCS project. So now I give the floor to Yvonne, that will present the situation from Basque Country. So thank you, Yvonne.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, please. Is start sharing.
Sure. So for how can I go to the next?
I don't know if, but I see the black screen. Probably it's there is some internet connection issue because I'm not able to see your presentation. I don't know if the other attendee are able. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You can see it now?
Yes,
please.
Now?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Okay. So just a brief presentation of who we are. We are the parks in Spain. Yeah, in the Basque Country, we are working in two parks. Although Spelur and Industrial Dea program is managing a lot of industrial parks. Yeah. We were focused mainly in two small parks. These are the one in Gisaburuaga or Kamika, is the name, and the one in Artea, Vildosola. You can see that they are small parks, more or less 100,000 square meters. Yeah, more or less 35 companies and small companies. Yeah, less than 50 people in each company, in the bigger company. So like a characteristic of the parks is that they are small parks and with small companies, not too much companies, and different to the others in other countries. Yeah. Yes, as a presentation, as the topic was to challenges. Yeah, I thought in one challenge, and for this I will begin with two ideas. From one side, how is defined, or how did we define the process for selecting the projects in each park, yeah, during the development of a S-PARCS project. Yeah. In the first step, find suitable energy cooperation solutions. Yeah, and that means to somehow make a consumption assessments or energy audits. In a second step, identify the energy cooperation solutions that fit, but that best fit to the needs of each park. Yeah, and later on during the exploitation or the development of the solutions. But one of the things that is that we should do is to contractualize somehow the chosen energy cooperation solution. This is a standard that is defined, and we also define a standard, and we collect them in the deliverable 1.2, the barriers that are categorized. And the number 5, information provision, was is a barrier in which the issue is that we are managing many times confidential data of many companies. Yeah, this why in some moment this morning somebody speak about I think it was Francesco, about the confidentiality and some deliverables that are not public. Yeah, so continuing with these two ideas, yeah, the process and the barriers, and one of the solution for this barrier is established. One of them was to find some company that could play a role in this to overcome this barrier, no? Because the processes including the sharing of sensitive information, sensitive processes. So during the first step, we are gathering information of many companies or some companies. So we are in the second step, we are sharing services or infrastructure. In the third step, we are finding the way to do this. Yeah, one of the needs is to find a legal party, the park manager, one of the companies, or create a new company to take the lead in shared services or shared infrastructure. Yeah, to sign a contract just to develop this solution that we have chosen. No? So what role can an external organization play in building trust in the project development process? Yeah, facilitating, promoting, building trust, confidence. Yeah, well, it's necessary for the development of the projects. This external organization should be trust independent, not for-profit entity. Maybe not, but my thought was that it's interesting for sure. No, so I would say that the challenge will be know if somebody should play this role for other projects in the future, because I think it is really interesting. No, and answering to the question. To another question that was below about the situation in Spanish parks, and join to this. For example, in Okamica, the next step, we made the last workshop about the last feasibility studies results and with the companies. And we are promoting a new workshop now with a few companies that should begin working with these questions that now we must make a decision about this. What we will join to the photovoltaic project, which companies we will look for external financier money. Oh yeah.
Okay.
So this is a bit the idea and the challenge, because I think it's an important role.
Thank you.
To new projects. Okay.
Thank you, Bon, because you highlight some positive aspect related to the energy cooperation and the next steps that your industrial park have to face for addressing energy cooperation. So now we move to the next presenter, that is Francesco Spennati from co-organised. So please, Francesco, would you share the screen?
Good morning. I'm going to share my screen. I hope you can you see my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, okay, let's start. Good morning. I'm talking about our industrial park in Tuscany, that is in the area of in the middle of Tuscany, in the area of Pontegola, near Pisa. Our park is very homogeneous because we are a tannery park, mainly specialized. We are talking about 80 tanneries and more other related factories specialized on leather industries, especially for luxury and shoes. Is an important part of Tuscany economy, and since the leather is a byproduct of food industries, all the rawhide were sent to the tanneries, and they make the tanning process with the big intensive use of water. Actually, is not really energy intensive industries, but the treatment of water made by Pollo Depur, that is a private company with a part of municipality that are in the control of the company, but most of the company is owned by the tanners. The Pollo Depur, the wastewater treatment plant, is an energy intensive industry. So here you can see a picture of the area of Pontegola area and the smallest area, Romaiano, that is have an important role of in our project, and Pollo Depur. Pollo Depur treats water from the industrial park, but also from the urban area surrounding. So when we start the project, we start to think about what we want to reach in the future. What is our vision of the future, especially in our park, and what are the problems that we are facing now. One objective, one aim that we want to follow is to reach a park, a low economy, low carbon economy in our park. We want to achieve through energy cooperation. We want also to reduce the energy costs, especially for the wastewater treatment plant, but also for the tanneries. And we want to have a more economic and sustainable and economic management of wastes. Okay, and the question is, how can we correlate all these aspects in energy cooperation? The solution is a combined a co-digestion, anaerobic co-digestion of vegetable tanneries sludge and some waste from the tanneries to produce in the same time biogas, and that could be a fuel to have heat and power, energy that could be used in the wastewater treatment plant, and heat that could be used in the tanneries. I will show you the actual configuration, and after that I will show you what is the configuration that we want to reach in the future in order to have a new vision and envision our park. Right now we have the municipalities, the tanneries that consume water and produce wastewater that is managed by Pollo Depot. All municipalities, tanneries, and Pollo Depot need electricity, but all of them need also methane, natural gas, because in tanneries they need to dry the leather. All the process of all the tanning process is made in a rotation drum with a lot of water consumption, but in the end to obtain the final product we need to remove all this water, and the removal of this water is made by heat, low temperature heat. All of these entities produce also waste. Particularly tanneries produce waste related to the solid waste subproduct of the leather that is not became a product, and Pollo Depot sludge from all the tanks.
Okay, Francesco, can you conclude, please, because we have very short time.
Yes, mainly our idea is to implement this configuration that you can see in the picture, where we reuse the water from the municipality in a special section, and we send back to the tanneries. And all the waste from tanneries and Pollo Depot will be sent in an anaerobic co-digester that will produce biogas that could be used for produce energy, electricity for Pollo Depot, and also heat for the tanneries, in order to reduce the solid waste that we produce, but also reduce the consumption of energy and use the electricity in Pollo Depot while the heat could be sent to the tanneries. Actually, this is the finish. Obviously, this is a big project, so we are looking for funding, and we recently, last year, signed an agreement with Tuscany region in order to facilitate all the bureaucratic issue that we will face in this project.
Thank you, Francesco, for sharing your experience. So now we have the last presenter of this session, and so I leave the floor to Georgios Goumas from CRES, that will share challenge opportunity for energy cooperation from his perspective, his experience. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm George Goumas from CRES. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, I present the case study of Embers project heat exchange with the International Park in Greece. We select a case studies industrial zone of Volos, the second one, and this this industrial zone located near the Volos, about 20 kilometers away, and nearly the small town Agios Georgios. We have a description of the industrial zone. They include about 50 industries in its parameters. 10 of them participated in the project and give energy data. Okay, the industry is the medium side, and we have to analyze two scenarios. The first one is include the thermal energy matching between the industries of the industrial zone, and the second one is the scenarios to describe the supply of rejected heat from industrial zone exceeds to demand, and the scenarios is to expect excess heat supplied by the heating network in the near town of Agios Georgios, which locate about 5 kilometers out west of industrial zone. And okay, we plan some actions after the finish of project. We can see some of them. We plan to integrate the case studies of co-financing operation program of EU and Ministry of Environment, and implementation for the pilot program in the two Volos industrial area, which COESARs administrate, and cooperation with another company at Vavipé, which the managing of body managing of industrial zone of Greece, and the Greek bank who interested to finance an energy efficiency program in the field of waste heat recovery. And finally, to design the implementation of similar project in the other 5-6 industrial parks in Greece, and probably in the others nearly countries such as Bulgaria or Romania. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Georgios. So thank you for sharing your experience into the EMBERS project. So I would like to thank you all the speakers. And I mean, just to conclude this session, I want to summarize that what our industrial parks highlight it's the important to identify the facilitator into the identification and implementation of energy cooperation solution. Then it's important to identify the more effective energy efficient cooperation solution for addressing all companies' needs by considering their industry where they operate, and then the importance to find a strong synergy with all actors located into the territory where the industrial parks are located. So I now give the floor to Andrea for make the final conclusion for today's webinar. Thank you.
Eleonora, thank you very much. I think you summed up a few really important points, and we are very much on time. So thank you to everyone who sped up their presentations a bit. What I would like to say as closing remarks, this is the final official event of the S-PARCS project. our consortium will continue to work on the topic of energy cooperation, industrial symbiosis, together, hopefully soon in other new projects. We are already partly involved in other ongoing projects. And I'm very happy that the Alliance for Energy Cooperation has been set up, is ongoing and running, and I think will grow and become a really good meeting point for everybody who's interested in continuously working on this topic. From my point of view, thank you to everybody who worked together to organize this webinar. As you can imagine, working for 3.5 years with 13 partners, it just was not possible to have everybody who was involved in this project speak up today. But many more interesting results and outcomes are available on the website. We mentioned the energy cooperation parks of energy cooperation plans of our park several times. You can find them and take a look at them on our website. We have 22 public deliverables that target different topics. We are always happy to be in touch with you. Happy to answer your questions if anything comes up. As said before, please just go and check out our tool and our energy community. If any one of you has an interesting best practice example of an industrial park, please let us know. We really want to have as many up-to-date information on our website, link our website to other activities as possible. So this is it from me, our final event. I'm looking forward to seeing you hopefully soon again in other setups and in other webinars. With a look at the chat, you see all the websites of our partner and sister projects where you can check out what they are doing. Best thing, I guess, to do is, in any case, to follow the Alliance, where you will be updated about all these ongoing activities regularly. Thank you very much for joining. I wish you all a good afternoon.
Thank you all.
Nice day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.